Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is like, Kevin Jank.
I'm here and prepared to have your expectations of seeing Annihilus in this book annihilated.
Yes, that was a minor miscalculation on my part. Now, you can assume that Annihilus. Here's my favorite description of him: an interdimensional insectoid conqueror and tyrant.
That sounds pretty good right there.
Yeah, you put that on your business card.
Yeah.
But he's on the cover.
Yeah. Oh, he's the main focus of the cover. They're really pimping him hard. This is going to be all Annihilus all the time.
But you open the book. Oddly enough, he's in there maybe 6 panels. Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly just a charred corpse for at least 3 of them, probably. Like, yeah.
I'll be honest, I was disappointed.
It turns out there's like an Avengers issue that ties in with this that it sounds like is more Annihilus than this one had. Like, they were actually fighting Annihilus.
Not really. They really weren't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I went and looked at it, and they were basically fighting like a force field that he put around the Baxter building. And it was just Annihilus off in that little control room of his, and you see him a couple panels, but yeah, they really weren't fighting him either.
Wow.
So we'll get
He's in
into
the
all
center
that.
of this epic crossover and really plays no part in either book.
Yeah, not really an active participant.
Yeah.
The issue we're reading, though, is Fantastic Four issue 256 from 1983, and the writer and artist here is John Byrne.
Yeah. I think this is the first time we've done a straight-up Fantastic Four issue since I've been on the show.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, we did that X-Men Fantastic Four, right?
Yeah, we did X-Men Fantastic Four. We did, like, Secret Wars 2, which I know had some decent amount of Fantastic Four, but, yeah, not a straight-up Fantastic Four story.
Yeah, I was into a little Fantastic Four there a couple weeks back because I was listening to an old Fantastic Four radio show from 1975. They made 13 episodes of it. And I was telling Jank about it the one time, and he's like, is there anyone famous in it? And I was like, I didn't recognize anybody. And here, it turns out the Human Torch was played by Bill Murray. I had no idea.
Seems like a very noticeable voice.
It is. Once you know it's Bill Murray, you know it's Bill Murray. But like when you're just going into a cold,
like, this sounds familiar. Is that Joel Murray?
But we were going into a cold there, and from the 70s, a Marvel radio show, you're not expecting to hear Bill Murray. So I'm just like, oh, that's probably a 70s guy who sounds a little like Bill Murray. We didn't hear the Bill Murray.
Wow.
That was crazy. But yeah, it's very good. Basically all the radio show does is it just recreates the first few issues of Fantastic Four there. I guess the first 13, if they do it as you mentioned. But it's pretty entertaining. I would recommend it if you want to find it. It's on the YouTubes. You can go and find it over there. All right, but before we get into
what I also recommend in terms of like Fantastic Four audio dramas, did you ever hear Norm Macdonald did like a Fantastic Four skit on one of his albums?
No.
Oh, it's so good. I would check that out immediately.
I love Norm Macdonald. I've never heard that.
Yeah. Basically about Mr. Fantastic and why he's called Mr. Fantastic.
Well, we can probably figure out why. All right.
Pretty awesome.
So, before we get started, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 248 subscribers, Shank. We picked up a few this week. Yeah,
closing in on that halfway mark.
Closing in on halfway relevancy.
We got to get to that Dark Knight month. Make Mike Dell suffer.
Again, if we get to 500 subscribers, Jank is going to make me review Dark Knight every week for a month.
Yeah. What a glorious time that will be to be alive.
Yes, it will be. Also, don't forget, my book Monkey Flip is out there about a chimp detective. You'll love it.
Unlike Annihilus, he's actually pretty present in the book.
I promise you a chimp detective, and I deliver a chimp detective. All right. So, Fantastic Four 256. Like I said, this is John Byrne. We've talked about him many times on the show, but he was the artist for issues 209 to 218. And then he became the writer-artist for issues 220, 221, then 232 to 293. What a run.
Holy hell.
And he was then just the writer for issue 294 and annual 17 to 19. So he was on Fantastic Four basically from 1979 to 1986. And that was after he left the X-Men when he had his little dispute there with Chris Claremont. And then he, for into the I didn't realize it was on Fantastic Four that long. No, I didn't. I thought it was like 3 years tops in 7 years. So
what was he doing Alpha Flight? Was that in there somewhere?
Yeah,
or was that right after? Yeah, okay, wow. Just cranking them out.
Yeah, pretty sure. So all right, so yeah, the star of this year's show, because everyone knows the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic, Thing, Invisible Woman, Human Torch. No Herbie the Ribbit.
That was a show invention.
Yeah, that was for the cartoon. But Annihilus is the main attraction here. And as I mentioned, interdimensional, insectoid, conqueror, and tyrant. That's just great. I love that.
Yeah. I would love that title.
And he was, his first appearance was Fantastic Four Annual 6, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. He's the ruler of the negative zone.
That's right.
It's an antimatter universe discovered by Reed Richards. And, he's like the most prominent ruler. He's been overthrown a few times over the years, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think Blastar probably took over for a while there. Yeah. Yep.
And, but Annihilus, the reason why he's the ruler, because he has the cosmic control rod. Which, now this has nothing to do with the power cosmic of the Silver Surfer. This is the cosmic control rod. It allows him to manipulate cosmic energy and control the molecular structure of matter. That's a neat trick.
Yeah. You can control the Silver Surfer? Through the powers, so. Like, he's got power cosmic. He can control cosmic things.
But, when you see Annihilus, he's an insectoid, but he wears like a suit of armor, like a purple and like a green mask usually over his face. And he's got wings and a lot of purple and green there on Annihilus. Yeah. And good luck. He usually has the cosmic control rod mounted like right across the top of his chest beneath his chin there. Usually right there.
Yeah. Usually you think you'd put that more in the armor a little bit. Maybe protect that instead of it being right out in the open.
Yeah, someone could just walk by and snatch it, but, and
who's taking on my rod?
I think the cosmic control rod also, it basically makes him immortal, or like the reason it slows, because, insectoids, they don't live long as insects.
Yeah, that's true.
So thanks to the cosmic control rod, it extends his lifespan. So he's essentially kind of immortal, I think, in a way.
Yeah.
Because he certainly dies in this issue and he's not dead. So, but he doesn't even have the control rod in this issue. That's really the whole, the whole idea behind this storyline. Because this storyline started in Fantastic Four issue 251, and it concludes in this issue. And like you mentioned, there's also a crossover with the Avengers in here. I think there's at least one, maybe two issues. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the whole idea behind this is that he lost the cosmic control rod.
Oh, no, unless you had one job.
Yeah. I don't know if this is when Blastar had it or what, but he started to age rapidly and his body's like, falling apart. So he's like, you know what? I'm not going alone. I'm bringing down 2 universes with me. I'm going to destroy the negative zone and old Reed Richards' universe too.
Nice.
So that was his plan here. That was the idea.
I like the style.
But this all started because in issue 251, I went back and looked at it, and it opens up with Reed Richards creating a portal to the negative zone in the basement of their headquarters. Or maybe not the basement, but in just a room of their headquarters. He's making a portal into the negative zone. And Thing is like, hey, Reed, do you think this is a good idea? And Reed Richards is like, yeah, it's a great idea. Because, the negative zone, because this isn't their first time in the negative zone, the Fantastic Four. Obviously, it started with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They've been in and out of there over the years. It's a dicey situation when you go to the negative zone. It's not like going to an amusement park, you understand. So Thing's like, hey, Reed, maybe you shouldn't make this portal because, that Annihilus guy could come through that portal.
Yeah.
And Reed Richards is like, nah, that'll never happen. So.
Seems like every time we go there, we run into this guy. I think the odds are pretty good. No. I'm the smartest man in the Marvel Universe.
I'll be honest. Reed Richards, he's kind of a dope. Even though
really is.
Every time you read one of his stories, it's like, this guy's just a dummy. But anyway, so they're going to go explore the negative zone. And here's another questionable decision on their part.
Mm-hmm.
They have a child at this point, Franklin Richards.
Yes.
So they decide, you know what, this Fantastic Four, the four of us, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman thing, and Human Torch, let's all go into the negative zone together and explore it.
Yeah.
And
sounds like a great idea.
Let's leave our child behind under the care of Alicia Masters.
Who is blind.
Yes, she's a blind lady.
Maybe you call like She-Hulk or something, somebody who's been on the team that could, maybe watch out for him better.
Or maybe a babysitting service. You can just go. But yeah, just said Alicia's here. She'll be fine.
I mean, even like Danny Cage and like Jessica Jones, they eventually got like Squirrel Girl to watch the kid. At least they got somebody with some power.
What was that squirrel I liked? We found out he died then.
Oh,
Monkey Joe. Monkey Joe.
Monkey Joe. Yeah.
The best character ever. Monkey Joe. All right, but anyway, so they think that in the negative zone, time passes like it's not an equal translation. So if they're in the negative zone, they could be in there for months, and in our world, they could be gone for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then they'll be back, even though they're going on a month-long expedition through the negative zone, in theory.
I see no way this could possibly go wrong.
I mean, it's just me. I don't have any children, and that's for the best, probably. But if I were in that situation, and I already got a big guy made out of rocks and a guy who can turn into flames, I'd probably say, hey, honey, why don't you stay home and watch the kid? And we'll the three of us will go explore the negative zone.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we should count our lucky stars that they didn't bring Franklin with them.
Well,
like something
actually would have been better because the minute they get in the negative zone then, and then old Alicia Masters, she's making a snack for Franklin and stuff, and she hears like the sound of them, because Reed makes a big point. He's like, hey, Alicia, when you hear this sound, and it's like a big ka-chung, that means we're back from the negative zone. All right. So she's like, oh, okay, I'll listen for that. And then not long after, she's making a snack there for Franklin, and she hears the big ka-chung. She goes, oh, wow, they're back pretty quick. So she goes in the other room, and who do you think's there, Jay?
I bet it's Annihilus.
It is Annihilus.
Oh, wow. Who would have guessed he would come through that portal?
And he just smacks the hell out of Alicia Masters. He beats her silly. And then he goes in and he takes Franklin by the head, throws him into a wall. Then he drags him by his hair. He's dragging him down the hallway. And then he takes Franklin and Alicia Masters and he ties them both up by their ankles and suspends them from the ceiling.
Wow.
And even though Alicia Masters is in like a sweater and a skirt and she's upside down, the skirt stays straight up. Yeah, so it was a rough weekend for Franklin and Alicia Masters. He just hangs him up.
Here's another idea. You're gonna leave your kid with a blind woman. At least like have her watch the kid at her house. Maybe not in the the Fantastic Four Baxter building where there's all kind of damaging equipment and portals to different dimensions.
Another very good point. Because there's no way she could be familiar with every aspect of the Baxter building.
Nope.
But anyway, so yeah, he beats the holy hell out of Alicia Masters. And because I was flipping through the other issues, and at one point he just gets grouchy about something. And like he's talking to Alicia, and he says, he rips off his mask, and he says, look at my face, see how I'm aging? And they don't show you his face, they keep it kind of a mystery. And he's like, see, I'm aging, I'm dying. And he's like, wait, you're not even reacting. You're blind. that really got him angry, and he just started smacking her around even more.
Oh my God. She was really earning her $7.50 an hour.
Yes. Well, it's 1983. It's probably like a $2.50.
Yeah.
But man, it's Annihilus. He seems like a real jerk.
Oh man.
So anyway,
blind people and children.
That's where we're at in the story. And of course, the Fantastic Four, they get stuck down in the negative zone there, and they can't get back. And while, like I said, his big plan is to destroy the negative zone and our universe, and he's going to do this by sending out a negative wave or something through our universe, and it's going to keep increasing and expanding. And I don't know. It's going to do something.
Yeah, some kind of sciencey mumbo jumbo. He's big on waves, because then his big plan later on was the annihilation wave.
Yeah, I did hear tell about this. This was like a big event or something.
Yeah, I think it was just like a giant wave of, ships, like thousands of ships, and also giant bugs. And they just go through the universe, taking out full planets at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Kind of the old Marvel Cosmic thing in a big way.
So, all right. Yeah, we'll talk more about the Avengers crossover when we get there, because there's a moment in this book where leads into it. There's one lady in here with very large glasses. Did you notice her?
Oh, yep. Sure did.
She has enormous, and a mullet. So that's
it's quite the look. Yeah, she's like, I don't know, like a female nerdy long shot, I guess.
So, all right, let's look at the cover here, Jenk. It's a hell of a cover by Byrne,
Yeah. Yeah, it promised so much more than it delivered.
Yes.
So yeah, we got the little corner box there. All four of their faces are listed. You've named the members enough. We don't need to talk about it again.
It's Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Thing, and Human Torch.
Yep. Then we got the banner that says the world's greatest comic magazine, which they used to always put on these, even though I don't think it was ever true.
That's a big throwback to 1963 there. I kind of like that.
Yep. So. Yep. They're still trying to trot that out, even though no one's biting. Then it's got the Fantastic Four kind of logo. Nothing real spectacular, I gotta say.
But a pretty distinctive font, like you see.
Yeah.
It's Fantastic Four.
And then we got a big yellow cover. And there's Annihilus kind of doing the hands up, kind of maniacal laugh face, like mwah. And but inside of him, like where his chest should be, he's got a bunch of stars and basically you get to kind of see the negative zone inside of him, I guess. And in those stars, float the Fantastic Four. They're just kind of all like, get us out of here.
Like they're trapped in his belly. Right. That's a good cover. I like the tilt on Annihilus there. Nice composition. Bright yellow.
Yeah, this is a good cover. This would be better than the cover they gave him in Marvel Puzzle Quest. They just did like the first appearance, the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby one. And
like he's standing on an asteroid up in the corner, I think, right? Or something like that?
No, it's like all you see is like his face, and it just kind of looks very box-like. I don't know. And you see the Fantastic Four mostly, so it doesn't show off Annihilus very well at all. I don't know why they went with that. This would have been a much better choice.
So we open it up, and we get a Stan Lee Presents, and then John Byrne story and art, and then some other folks. And this is called the Annihilation Gambit. We get a splash page. We get a splash page of the Fantastic Four staring at the camera there. And I think the proportions on Reed are a little off. Like his arms look a little stubby or whatever. But when you think about it, can you ever have the proportions off on Reed Richards? Because his body can just be any, you know what I mean? So you can really screw up his anatomy. Doesn't matter. Because his body can be whatever you want it to be. So, yeah.
Now, the thing is, one arm looks way bigger than the other, so I don't know about that. But
I think he's like tilting toward the camera, supposedly, but...
Yeah.
But,
I don't know why he'd be doing that, but he just wants one shoulder out there.
And we should also mention their costumes. In this era, they were blue with black on the necks and the belts and the gloves and the boots, kind of.
Yeah, it becomes very important later on in the issue.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I was very confused when it came up because I was like, wait,
me too.
Costumes are different.
They look exactly the same. It's like, oh no, they've been reversed except for the blue, which stayed the same, and that's the most part of the costume. Somehow that didn't change. But
we should also mention
white.
Reed is also wearing like a giant ping pong ball on his head. I don't know why.
Yeah. Like his own Cerebro.
Yeah, I think there's
some weird complicated thing about like, oh, they're not in their real bodies, or he's not in his real body. He's in some kind of projection from, I don't know, I guess the Earth or something. I don't know where he's being projected from, but
I think they said the ship that they had, his consciousness is somehow trapped in something on the ship, and this helmet puts it into his body so he can move around. I don't know, man. It's all this weird science stuff.
A lot of gobbledygook.
I want punching. That's what I want.
Yep.
So, but they're standing on basically a floating asteroid in the negative zone. And they're hooked up to some, on the next page we see a big 2-page spread of them, in the negative zone, a bunch of rocks flying all around them. And they're like connected. The asteroid they're standing on is connected by a bunch of like Doc-Ock cables back to the ship. And it's holding them in place because they're right up against the portal opening, I guess, to the Baxter Building thing.
Yep.
Like there's kind of like a tunnel they have to go through, but the thing that enables them to pass through the tunnel was somehow damaged. So if they were to try and go through, they would just like blow up or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what I gathered.
Thrilling.
It's a lot of them just standing around looking at this portal. That's the issue.
Yep. And Mr. Fantastic's like, thing, you should probably like not bother me while I'm trying to do this because it might inadvertently blast you into atoms. And Thing's just like, hey, was that a threat? Like, no, he's just taking text here.
I also didn't like that he called him Thing. Like, he always calls him Ben. You know? Ben?
Well, maybe it was a threat then.
Yeah.
That's what he says when he gets serious, like using someone's middle name.
But Reed stretches then back to their ship or whatever, and he grabs some sort of sensor. And his idea is to fly as close as possible to that portal thing, and because he wants to get some sort of a reading to determine what is blocking them from going back through. Or did you understand any of this?
Not really, no. I didn't really care either. That was the problem. They weren't really giving me much reason to be interested.
I wanted to see Annihilus, damn it.
I know. Sue's just like, oh, that's could be dangerous. You probably shouldn't do it. And he's like, I've got to.
So, yeah, and then we get some nonsense about some asteroids like floating around and rocks flying at him. And the Human Torch says, oh, I'll take care of these rocks. And he just flies through it and zaps it. But he just turns one giant rock into like 10,000 little rocks. And they all...
Apparently they're very, like, rocks are flammable in this reality, so they all start on fire. And he's like, oh, this isn't good. But luckily the Invisible Woman is there to throw up the old invisible force field and keep them all from being murdered.
Listen, John Byrne, great artist. He particularly, I think his work here is very solid.
Sure.
Like probably not peak Byrne, but it's still really good. And because he did Tank not long after this.
Yes, it fell off a cliff real hard.
But yeah, he's still really good here. But he's not a writer, you know. And
that Great Lakes Avengers issue of West Coast Avengers that we did recently, I thought was pretty decent.
That's right.
Like, I remember liking his art, his writing there, but this was a far cry from that. I thought
this was brutal. Like there's so much exposition, especially at the beginning. Like the first dialogue we hear is when they're looking at the portal there. Human Torch says, "Watch out, troops! We're hitting the outer reaches of the dimensional interface. If we get any closer, this ride could get real rough, as in terminal." And they all know that already, you know? So you're just talking to the reader there. And then Invisible Lady says, "Reed, what can we do? Some unknown force has destroyed the access tunnel back to our own reality. And that means the only way back to Earth is straight ahead, through the interface." Now, again, they all know this. So that if you want to get, in comic books particularly, if you want to get that sort of information across, just put it in a narrator box, and just do the old Stan Lee thing. Because
my favorite one was later on when the Human Torch is like, "Be careful, brother-in-law." Like, who says that? You're just doing that for the reader, so we don't know that that's his brother-in-law, I guess.
Yeah, it's really bad, really bad. So, all right. But Reed, he attaches himself to one of those Doc Ock cables or something, and now he's going to float over to the interface to get as close as he can. And again, the art here is great. I like that shot of him floating towards him and all the rocks around him and stuff. And because his body, it can take the beating from the whatever. Yeah. He's Mr. Fantastic.
Masters. Glass Jaw Alicia Masters.
So we see him get close. Now he's getting a reading. And he's like, what could have caused this to happen? And I guess what he found out is it's Annihilus that did all this. Is that what they're just discovering now?
I guess so. It took him like 6 issues to figure out, hey, it was always Annihilus because it's always Annihilus whenever you get
yeah, anytime you go to the negative zone, it's always Annihilus. Like, what's the big mystery?
What did I expect was going to happen here?
I don't. Again, he's not that bright. But do they ever just come right out and say Annihilus is behind this? Like he always says, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what I just learned," and then like he doesn't really tell the others.
He keeps saying he keeps mentioning they're facing annihilation, but I don't know that he ever actually says, "Oh, it's Annihilus."
Yeah, I don't know. So now we cut over to we see these ladies. What are their names? Sharon and Debbie. I don't know what her name is. Jules.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Like Jules is the like attractive brunette with the short hair, and she's apparently an actress and a dancer of some sort. I want to say stripper, but I'm not sure. And she used to be roommates with Frankie, the lady that became Nova. Yeah, Frankie Ray, there it is. And so that's how she knows the Human Torch and the Fantastic Four. Johnny Storm is way into her. She's not so much into Johnny Storm. But now her buddy, the blonde with the mullet and the enormous glasses, she's into Johnny Storm.
Oh.
So you got like a triangle here going on.
Now, is that Sharon Ventura? The one who becomes like the she thing?
Oh, you know what? I have no idea. But let's go with it. Let's just say yes. So, I forgot the she thing was even a thing. But, yeah.
A thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look what I did. So, they're going over because, oh, yeah. This was great.
This was dumb.
This was amazing because one of the previous issues of this storyline, the brunette, she called up the Baxter Building to talk to the Human Torch there, and the person who answered the phone was rude to her and just acted weird. And so when she hung up, she's like, I don't know, they got to get a better receptionist over there at the Baxter Building. They're real mean to me. And they're like, that doesn't sound right. So that's what they're going over to investigate. Like, what's going on at the Baxter Building that their receptionist is rude. Now, who do you think picked up that phone, Jake?
Oh, I mean, Annihilus doesn't seem the type to.
It was Annihilus. It was really. It was so great. Like they have this scene of her talking to Sharon. She's like, "Man, that receptionist was so weird." And then they cut to the next panel. You see Annihilus there laughing maniacally, holding a telephone.
Wow!
Like Annihilus, this interdimensional insectoid conqueror tyrant, would be answering phone calls at the Baxter Building.
Yeah. If I can't destroy the Fantastic Four, I'll ruin their reputations with bad service.
So anyway, that's why they're walking over to the Baxter Building to see what's going on with their receptionist or whatever.
Gads.
And when they get there, there's a guy listening to the radio, and Sharon says, "Hey, fella, what's happening? Why is everybody backed up here?" And he says, "Ain't you got no radio, mama?" Because he's black, so that's how they always throw it. every black person in the early 80s. There's some bad nastiness going down around the Fantastic Four's headquarters. Even the Avengers are in on it. And she's like, "You're kidding. Give me a listen." And then the brunette there, she's all wide-eyed. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Sharon, look at the Baxter Building." And now we get a little note. But to find out exactly what Julia Angel now sees, you will have to pick up Avengers issue 233.
Yeah.
And so if you go to Avengers 233, yeah, you don't find out in this issue really. But in Avengers 233, basically what happens is there's this giant pink bubble around the Baxter Building. And it's like that negative wave. It's starting to expand. And like no one can get through it. Like all the Avengers are trying to get through it. Like, I think Captain America, tries to throw a shield and it doesn't work. Or then She-Hulk grabs the shield and tries to bash it through and it still won't work. Thor throws his hammer and his hammer like starts to go through and then just collapses and then they can't get the hammer because it's like inside the bubble or whatever. So then he turns back into Donald Blake because he was separated from his hammer for a minute, one of them deals. And eventually Captain Marvel figures out a way to get in. This is Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, Spectrum.
Yes.
She later became, yeah.
And she, because she can turn her body and all sorts of energy and whatever, and she somehow gets through and, like, basically she figures out how to get through at the same time Reed and them do what they do in the negative zone, and together stops Annihilus. But
even though really neither of them have anything to do with Annihilus. But
the best part of that issue though is Annihilus. Like again, we only see him a few times in his little headquarters. I don't even know where he's at. He's in the Baxter Building. Yeah, and he's but he broadcasts out over the city, and there's like a giant hologram of his face or something in the sky, and he's just yelling at him. He's like, Hey, you dummies! I want to blow up your whole universe." like, I hope you're ready to die because you only got like a few minutes left, dummies. And he's just like ripping into these people and saying, "You're gonna die. It's over." And then like just out of nowhere, he goes, "Huh?" And he turns around and like everything falls apart on him. But anyway. But, all right, now we come back to the negative zone and we just see, again, more useless nonsense going on here. They're worried about a bunch of rocks being drawn towards, the interface where Reed is and that these rocks are going to hit Reed. So the thing says, "Hey, I'll take care of this." So he jumps over to their ship, rips off a piece of the ship. And, here's my favorite part, where he says this. Wait, what does he say? Cause he jumps over there and he rips off a big chunk of it.
Yep.
But he says, Stretcho probably wouldn't care much for what I'm planning to do, but he ain't in no position to debate. In fact, he won't be in no position at all unless I do something about them boulders. He's too far away for Susie to cover him with a force field, and the chunks are converging too fast to risk pulling him back with his line. So that means I got to try something a little less subtle, but a dang sight more effective. Made sure I used the storage compartment of the ship, not the computer banks where Reed's brain is stored.
This is so much exposition. It's insane.
Ordinarily, I just grab hold of one of these floating mountains to do this, but this negative zone rock is so crumbly. It wouldn't last more than one hit. There. So he basically rips off a part of the ship, crumbles it up into like a snowball, and throws it. Yeah, and he bounces it from one rock to another, just shattering them all.
Yep. It's a good thing I played all that pool when I was a kid.
Because, the thing about pool is you don't actually throw the ball. You hit it with a stick. So, I don't know how this
That's the way he plays. When you're a rock man, you can do whatever the hell you want. No one's going to argue with you that you're not playing it right.
But this is just ridiculous. And we just had, not more than 5 pages ago, we had Johnny Storm fly through a giant rock, and they were mad because it made more rocks.
Well, I think that's what started it on fire, too, so at least hitting it with a metal thing won't make it on fire.
But now there's just countless shrapnel flying towards Reed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Reed gets the whatever readings he needed from his sensor there, and he pulls back on his cable and he gets back to them and he's like, oh, what I learned is terrible, but he doesn't tell them or anything. And
yeah, but he's like, oh, there is something we might do. He's like, yeah, matter and antimatter will meet and cancel each other out. It will cause the absolute destruction of two universes. So he's got a secret plan now to try to beat this. And even the comic is like, yeah, we know this is boring and we're going to cut away and get to something else now. Because they're going to be working on this for the next 12 days. So instead of watching all that, let's get to, stuff in space.
Yeah, here's the other question I have, because they're in the negative zone. Like we said, time isn't the same. So, yeah, they work on this plan of theirs for, like you said, 12 days or so. What are they eating this whole time?
Rocks. Got a lot of rocks.
I don't know. So, all right, we cut over to a Skrull ship. It's fun. And I gotta be honest, I don't know who designed these Skrull ships, but pretty terrible. What? It doesn't seem like how you'd want a ship to be designed at all. But,
yeah, it's unusual. Kind of like, I don't know, they're combining elements of all kinds of different ships.
Or things that should never be ships.
Wings like TIE fighters, but it's got those weird red things that kind of look like the USS Enterprise a little bit. Like I don't know. It's very strange.
Remember that ship from Battle Beyond the Stars where it looked like a uterus? Remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Should have taken some more tips from that.
So, but yeah, it's the Skrulls, and they say, hey, what's going on there outside there? And he says, hey, Commander, I think it's Nova, old Herald of Galactus. So they say, what we should do is we should just fire a laser at Nova. Because that'll make her happy.
I do like that they mention like she's just recently become Nova, but they already know, oh, that's Nova.
Well, they read the Fantastic Four, the world's greatest comic magazine.
Of course.
But they shoot at Nova, and she's like, hey, what? You shooting at me? And she's like, all right, buddies, I'm about to mess you up. And she goes flying right at the ship. But then she's like 2 feet from touching the ship, and Galactus calls her home. He's like, Nova. And she just turns, changes course, goes flying back to Galactus. This is a giant ping pong ball. Ping pong balls play a big role in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, sure do.
But she flies into the ship, and then we get a nice shot of Galactus there, and he's like, oh, I'm super hungry. And she's like, oh, hey, no worries. I found a planet you can eat. It's them Skrulls. They just tried to shoot me.
Skrulls
go with their planet. So he's like, cool. Let's go do that. So
that has some far-reaching effects, because that pretty much leads to the secret invasion later on. Skrulls looking for a new world.
Oh, so he really did eat their planet.
Yeah, sure did.
How about that? But yeah, I like that. I like planting that seed there. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
For the future. But now we cut back to the Fantastic Four in the negative zone, and yeah, they're making their big plan here. And what exactly did they do, Jank?
They somehow built a construct, the exact dimensions of the Baxter building. Not entirely sure what it's made out of, but some kind of negative antimatter, I guess. Because the Baxter building is made of matter. So that if these two things then can swap places, it'll be fine. I don't know how. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't understand any of this. So in like 10 or 11 days, they built an entire skyscraper?
Pretty much.
And it's just like an outline of it. Because like the center of it is still the negative zone looking space. So it's just like a ghostly outline of the Baxter building.
Yep, but I guess they got the dimensions right. That's all that matters. Even like the things on top, like the vents and stuff, they got everything down to the exact detail.
And what would this do exactly?
I don't know.
That's the problem with this book. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
This image is a dimensional analog, a negative to the positive field just now activated in our universe. And that other field looks like our headquarters. Build and stretch. I'm beginning to wonder if... Reed Richards is like, I gotta pretend I'm confident here.
But like, what
And
would
he says, whoever or whatever created this annihilation device has set in motion a sequence of events which logic says cannot successfully be interrupted. So he doesn't know it's Annihilus. Smartest man in the universe. Can't figure out that it's Annihilus.
But I just don't understand why building this construct in the negative zone will have any effect on anything in our world.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense.
But apparently it works.
Sure does.
Hey, now we see Annihilus.
Yeah, finally he shows up in this book. And I guess he's kind of cutting that promo here. He's like, these are the last of your last wretched moments of,
He turns
at
around.
circuitry smoking.
So he goes running over to the circuitry board to try and fix it. And then we see Captain Marvel there popping in the background in her energy form. Because, yeah, I think the two of them were, like, the Fantastic Four building that construct and then her flying in. Because in the Avengers, she, like, flies straight down through the top of the bubble right through the Baxter building. And somehow, I don't know, but causes the circuitry to overload. And then, bang, it blows up. And just murders old, our buddy here, Annihilus.
Yeah, shreds his armor all apart. He's just like a weird little, I don't even know what his face is.
Yeah, you can't even tell what's going on there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But he still reaches, he's going to activate this switch manually, with his dying breath. And I don't know if so then at the negative zone at that instant, it's happening. My scan shows a sudden upsurge in energy. Get ready to dive into the field now. So they go diving into the field there, and they're like in the negative now, like a negative photo, and then we see Annihilus, and he's getting sucked back through the portal, I guess.
Yeah, doesn't really make a lot of sense. Somehow they've swapped places, which was, I guess, the plan all along.
And then we see him just falling until he hits the interface and blows up.
Yep, that's got to be the end of Annihilus.
Nope, he's back. I think he comes back, and I want to say, is it issue 281 he comes back? No, returned in Fantastic Four issues 289 and 290. So
okay,
he's gone for good 3 years, really. If you think about it. So yes, he was gone for a little bit, but he comes back. And so now what happens, Jank?
The Fantastic Four are home, and they're all excited. And they're like, "Hey, who the hell are you, Captain Marvel?" Like, and things like, "Oh no, I know her. She's cool."
Yeah, Reed like grabs her, and he's like, "Hey, lady, you got a lot of explaining to do." And things like, nah, she's cool.
And then the Thing is not happy because he sees Alicia Masters there.
That's what Annihilus did to her. He just beat
holy
the holy hell out of her.
That skirt that was staying up is now completely torn to shreds.
Yes.
After he picked up her face, he apparently worked the legs too.
And she's like, he's like, Alicia, baby, don't be dead. You can't be dead. And she's like, Annihilus, no, don't hurt me again, not again. Holy hell.
I won't burn the pot roast this time.
Poor Alicia Masters. So, the Thing, he grabs Alicia, scoops her up in his arms. He's like, hey, I'm taking her to the hospital. And he goes running into one of their Fantastic cars. And then, I love this. Susan Storm's like, Reed, if Alicia's here, if she's hurt. And he's like, don't worry, Sue, she'll be fine. She must be. She's like, no, you don't understand. If she's here, I prayed she'd be out of the building with our son, Franklin.
Oh, yeah, that's him.
Oh, that's right, we have a kid. God.
Shoot. We spent so much time in the negative zone, I plumb forgot.
It's true. They're like the worst parents ever. And she's like, but he must also be somewhere in our headquarters. We've got to find him. And then Reed says, we'll split up, Sue. You cover the residential level and then he notices a fire and he's like, you know what? I better put this fire out with this.
Yeah, this is more important. What good is finding Franklin if the whole building burns down too? That's
meanwhile, you have a guy named the Human Torch who can pretty much control fire.
Yep. And he starts doing that. He's like, hey, I got this, Reed. You don't need to do that. And then they say, oh, okay, yeah. Let me talk to Captain Marvel for a little bit instead of going to find our son.
Yes, that's exactly what he does. He doesn't give a damn about Franklin.
He's the worst.
So, yeah, he's talking to Captain Marvel, and then the Avengers show up. And again, Reed is just not giving a damn about Franklin. He's still talking to them. And they're talking to the Avengers, and because Vision tried to fly through that bubble, and it zapped him, and now he's like unconscious, basically.
Yeah.
So Scarlet Witch is like, hey, can you fix the Vision? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll fix your robot there. It's not like I have a son I should be worrying about right now. Yeah, I'll fix this robot.
Working IT is way more important.
And now we see Sue come walking in carrying this dead body of Franklin. Good God.
I found Franklin. Good Lord, I hoped that he was not on the floor in the blast. He wasn't. He was below, but he's so still. And then here's the Human Torch. He's like, I'm going to go fly off to the emergency ward and tell him you're coming. Not take Franklin with me and get him there quickly. But I'll tell them you're coming.
Also, do you really have to tell an emergency ward? They're an emergency ward. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They really don't need a heads up. But I don't know. Yeah, he could theoretically carry him, right? He could unflame his arms.
Unflame his arms, yeah. He does that all the time.
But and Reed says, "Oh, we gotta go take Franklin to the hospital now because I apparently don't have another choice. I've tried to get around it this far." But then, so they just leave, and Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel are there, and they're looking at Vision's unconscious body. And Scarlet Witch is like, "But what about the Vision?"
Such a terrible cliffhanger for this issue that had nothing to do with the Vision. We're just kind of thrown into this at the very end. It should be more about Franklin here at the end, but they're just like, oh, what about the Vision?
Here's an interesting thing though. If you go read that Avengers 233, they tell the exact same story, from the moment, when did it start? I think it's from the moment when the Avengers show up there, out of the elevator. They tell the exact same story beat for beat from that point on, but from different perspectives, kind of different art style. Each artist drew it his own way.
Okay, that's cool.
So that's pretty cool. But
it
also ends on the Vision and everything. So, and there's also a panel of the dead Franklin and Sue's arms. So it's the same panels, but just drawn differently by two different artists, essentially. So that was cool. I enjoyed that.
Seeing Franklin near death. These two issues are for you.
Yeah.
You see every angle.
And it says, next, the shocking continuation of our saga will be found in the pages of The Thing, issue 2, and the Avengers 234. Be here next issue for Nova, Galactus, Division, the Scarlet Witch, and a startling development for the leader off the FF.
Off the FF, yeah, you're right.
Come on.
They needed an editor.
Don't miss Fragments in 30 days. So.
Yeah.
There it is. Fantastic Four 256. Man.
Oh,
I was disappointed.
Humdinger. Yeah, me too. Needed more Annihilus.
I thought there was going to be a big fight with Annihilus, and
yeah. I could tell why you picked it based off that cover, but
yeah. I should have probably done some more internal scouting in the issue though, instead of just the cover. But
I mean, if you like ladies with big glasses and mullets, you can do it.
Oh man, this was a rough one, but I thought the art was good.
Dialogue, and it was so unnecessary for the most part. And I don't know.
John Byrne is not a good writer, and just the plot about why does the making a building in the negative zone? Why does that? I don't understand a god dang thing about this. But so
I don't think John did either. He's just like, I don't know, it's a negative zone. If you build something the opposite of it there, then it'll have to work. I don't know.
I don't even want to get into it.
Make a negative version there.
But yeah, I did get that sense that he had no idea what he was doing. He just thought he'd throw some words out there and people would have to believe it because Reed Richards is saying it. So people will believe it. But, man, so I thought his art was strong here. It looked really good.
Yeah.
And I looked at some of the other issues. Some of the other
issues
issues in this storyline, he doesn't ink, he just draws, and it doesn't look as good. So the fact that he was inking and drawing here, I think, really benefited the art. But what were you going to say?
the costumes got inverted, supposedly.
Oh, yeah.
The 4 on their chest doesn't get inverted either. It's still white.
Just the areas around their necks and the belts turned white when they came back to our world. And like, is it Captain America or someone says, hey, the costumes, they're the old costumes or whatever. And he's like, nah, they're the same ones. They're just, I don't know.
So stupid. You want them to go back to their old costumes, just have them change back to their old costumes. Some simple molecules, they can do whatever they want.
Whose idea was it to make it black anyway?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not a good idea, I don't think.
No, it doesn't look quite as good.
No. So, anything else about this? I like the Galactus cameo, planting the seed for the Skrull stuff. That was good.
Yeah. That was probably my favorite part of the book, to be honest. I was way more interested in that than I was in any of this Negative Zone stuff. Because, like you said, the Negative Zone stuff, there really isn't much going on there. There's not much other than, a bunch of rocks, some minor impediments with those rocks, essentially, and then, we're building a building.
Yeah, but that's really like
exciting.
That's like what, 75% of the issue? Them standing on a rock,
yeah,
talking.
Yeah.
All right, I guess. And they were just terrible parents. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. This was a terrible idea.
And remember, like, wasn't their first babysitter Agatha Harkness?
Yeah, that's right.
They hired a witch to be first babysitter. This poor Franklin. Man, the therapy bills for this kid.
Oh, God. I can only imagine.
Yeah, is he like a grown adult human now?
You know what? They have another kid now. They have Valyria as well. But I think both of them, after the whole secret war thing in like 2015, where like a bunch of the universes got destroyed and it was just kind of down to one, but then they went out to like repopulate the multiverse with new universes using Franklin's power. And I think they basically did that for several years.
Using Franklin as like
seems like something Reed would do, yeah. We'll just cut off a piece of him everywhere and that'll start a new universe.
Stud farm.
And,
Richard.
I think while they were doing that, like it was one of those things where it's like, they were going through different universes, so time passed more quickly, and he aged like a bunch of years at a time. So I think he's like at least in his teens at this point.
I should hope so. 35 years later. So,
yeah.
So. All right, so there it is, Fantastic Four 256. Man, I don't know. Again, the art was solid. The story stunk. Needs more Annihilus.
Yeah, a lot more Annihilus. I wish we were doing one of the ones where you smack around Alicia Master. At least that was entertaining. At least we've been doing something.
Like maybe a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I was gonna go 3. You're right. The art is solid, but the story was quite brutal.
It was rough. Hey, but what you can do is you can go to YouTube and listen to a bunch of Fantastic Four radio shows.
Yeah.
Back when Stan Lee wrote it. And Bill Murray. So you'll love it.
That's pretty good.
All right, Jank. So, have you listened to any of them?
Nope. I gotta get on that.
Yeah, you should do it. All right, Jank. So, what do you got for us next week?
All right. Well, I know our buddy Tuffy is big on the state fair here in Illinois, but for me, there's another fair that's very important this time of year. It runs from July 4th to Labor Day, and hopefully I'm going to be going this weekend. That's the Renaissance Fair up in Bristol.
Oh, no. Oh, good Lord. You're going to a Renaissance Fair?
That's right.
Well, it sounds like this will not be your first. How many Renaissance Fairs have you been to?
I've been to this one, I don't know, 8 times probably, something like that. It's been a lot.
And, wait, where did you say this is?
Bristol. It's like right over the Illinois-Wisconsin border.
Okay. And, when you go to a Renaissance fair, do you dress up like an elf or something, or what do you do?
Usually no. I
right.
more go for the food and the tomato guy is great.
Like a big turkey leg? Do you get one of them big giant turkey legs?
Those are great. They used to. I don't know if they didn't have them last year. At least I didn't find them last year. But they had these like Italian ices that were so good. They like serve them in like an actual fruit. Like it'll be in a lemon or a peach or something, and it's just, it's so good.
Wow, how about that? So really you just look forward to the Renaissance Fair for the food. Do any of the games? Do you like throw axes or anything or?
Sure, they got a lot of that stuff, or like crossbow shooting.
Oh,
kind of fun stuff. Different.
Has anyone ever murdered the Renaissance Fair? All these weapons?
Not that I know of. Probably, I feel like their mortality rates are lower than at Comic-Con.
Well, that's good. What else happens at the Renaissance Fair? Do you see any soft benches at the Renaissance Fair?
Sure. A lot of that. I think they have some pub crawls if you want to do those. Those are fun. I think.
Well, good luck at the Renaissance Fair. But now I'm intrigued by what comic book could be a crossover at the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, so I figured this was a good time. This has kind of been on my list to take a look at for a while. So I figured this was a good time to take a look at Elf Quest.
Oh, no, right before you said that, I go, oh my God, it's going to be Elf Quest. And,
yep. That's what it is. You already know. We're going to do Elf Quest number 27.
Well, what year is this?
This was 1987. I'm not sure if that's when it was originally printed, because I think this was one of those things where, like, it was, independently published, and then Marvel just reprinted it, but I'm not sure.
All right, yeah, I'll figure that out. But did you read a lot of Elf Quest in your day?
No, I've actually never read it before, but I've certainly heard of it and seen the characters and stuff, so I'm kind of curious to see what it's all about.
Yeah, I've never read any, and I'll be honest, never curious to find out what it's about.
I think it could be fun.
Feel like elves and quests. All right, there it is. Elf Quest issue 27 next week here on Flea Market Fantasy. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.